Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you've had a lovely week and you're segueing nicely into the weekend. As promised, I am coming on tonight to talk to you a little bit more about the quantum voice sessions that I do. I've alluded to a little bit of that before, but I'm going to go into a bit more depth today to let you know what that's about. So as most of you know, I'm a sound healer and I work predominantly with Tibetan singing bowls. I use my voice a lot, and as you can see, I use gongs and drum and percussion instruments and all of that stuff to effect meditations and deep healing using sound and frequency in people. But what I want to talk to you about today is the quantum voice stuff. So some people probably have heard the term light language before. This sounds a bit like that. The only thing I'm going to say about that is I don't call this light language because I do not channel it from an external source, which is why I call it quantum voice. It comes from some ancient part of me that I tap into when I work with people or when I go into a meditation, into what I like to call a no-mind state. And it comes through me. It's not something I can ever replicate, just like a sound bath. It is not something that is conscious. I don't choose the words consciously. The words come out to help whoever's in front of me, or because the sound, the tone, the frequency, the timing, all of that needs to come out to affect change. So as in like a sound bath session, the client, you, would lay down in a relaxation. We would have a quick chat first to see where you're at. And for you, that's all you need to do really as a client. So you lay down and relax. Make yourself open to anything that's going to come up. And, you know, some people fall asleep. And some people go into a deep meditative state. Some people who can't switch off their brain, generally it's the people that have trouble switching off their brain and going into that quiet place. They may be much more conscious of what is happening in the session verbally or with the sound. But that tends to deepen as well with entrainment. So the more you come, the more your brain says, oh, I know what this is. And you let go deeper and deeper. So I'm just going to go through a few of the things that can happen, or what a session can look like, the experiences that I have had or that clients have had in these sessions. So for starters, it can be like a sound bath where you are deeply relaxed, the sound washes over you. It puts you into theta or delta state, into that deep meditation state in your mind. When that happens, it can be sleep. You can feel things physically. You can experience emotions. You can recall past memories, or it seems like you're not recalling it consciously, but it comes to you. And then it can go into things like journeying, astral travel, the things that happen in meditation. So your higher self can take over and give you wisdom, insight, that kind of thing. You can travel to places. Some people feel like they're flying or swimming with dolphins. It can be experiential in that way. And that can happen in a sound bath, right? In a gong bath, in a sound bath meditation, in a deep meditation. If you are able to get yourself to that space without the aid of sound, then awesome. But the other things that can happen here, so because sound is a truly holistic medium, you can feel things on the physical level, the emotional level, the mental level, and spiritual as well. So some of the things that have happened with clients include trauma release, so like emotional traumas, or where people have experienced physical trauma. That pain, that memory, that residual stuff that you're carrying often gets unlocked and released. It can also be in the vein of some people have experienced trauma to the degree that their brain locks it away into a little box and then starts telling them a nicer story, so that the trauma was so bad that they don't want to remember it, or their brain won't let them remember it how it actually was. So that gets replaced with a nicer, more palatable story sometimes. Sometimes it's a gap in memory. It's blanked out completely. I've had a couple of instances where people have unlocked that box. So something that's come to them that they feel detached from, like that I was experiencing that as me in the meditation, but actually that I don't remember that ever happening to me. Or I saw it as this thing that happened to me was like this, but in the meditation I saw it like this. And then after the session they go home and piece it together and realise that they've unlocked some very deep healing there. They've done some really, really deep inner work, and it's come to the surface for them to process out. The other things that can happen is akin to shadow work. So where it signposts shadows within you that need to be addressed, work that needs to be done for your growth, for your expansion, for you to move forward. It can show up like a past life regression. So that could be you, the client, experiencing a past life, or it could be that I see it. And then obviously at the end of the session, I'd feed that back to you. Just to say that at the end of every session that we do of this, there is always time to talk and process, because things come up for you, you see things, you feel things, hear things, and similarly so do I. So when I'm in that no mind state, it can be like a psychic reading sometimes. It can be like me facilitating like a tarot session, or as a guide. I can see things the same as you can see things. So at the end of every session, we would always sit and discuss what's come up for you, the things that I've felt, seen, heard, and then piece it together that way. And then we're building up a picture for you to move forward, to process, to get insight, to possibly follow a life path. There's all of this stuff. It's so multi-layered. And it's amazing. The other things that have shown up for me before, or for clients when I've been doing these sessions, is ancestral healing. So we know that not consciously, but we carry emotional trauma or bonds to our immediate family, but also ancestrally to those that may have passed before. Similarly with past life, right, we have experienced this so many times before that when we come in, we bring some of that with us if we need to process it in this life, if it was unresolved, if it helps us in this life to move forward. So those things can come up. In the ancestral healing, it could literally be your mum, that immediate, but it could be generations and generations back. And if it goes back that far, generally speaking, it's because not only are you carrying that, but your mum may have been, and your dad's before, and your grandfather, your grandparents. And that is an amazing thing. So if you are the person that experiences the ancestral healing, then that heals also your lineage that has come before you. This can sometimes present like inner child work, where you're going into something that happened to you in your childhood that you've been carrying for years, but it gets resolved in these sessions, or it signposts you to be able to resolve the things that have happened to you in your childhood that were painful or have influenced you your whole life, right? As I said, this works on a very physical level as well. So things like chronic pain, I believe that we experience chronic pain because we have emotional stores in our body. So we don't just carry trauma, bad experiences, negativity in a cognitive memory, but there's also a cellular memory of that. And quite often, if there's a patch of those memories in one place, say it's between your shoulder blades or in your sciatic region, lower back, in your knees, all of these things have a meaning and they're all there for a reason. But in these sessions, all of that stuff can be diminished, and actually it can be healed long term as well. So especially with things like chronic pain, if you have a place that whenever you're stressed, this pain comes up, maybe it's your lower back, your hips, something like that, I would call that a physical emotional store. And it's absolutely related to negative experience, trauma, sadness. Similarly, it can carry joyful emotion as well. But it's the place where we have pockets of negative emotion that can cause chronic pain, can cause like reoccurring injury, those kind of things. And that can also be the site of where like chronic disease takes hold. So I've had a lot of clients where we've released some of those chronic pain stores, those emotional pockets, those emotional stores, right? The other thing that happens in this is the language, the frequency. It taps into your energetic bodies, so it can rebalance your chakras, it can rebalance your aura, it can help with those energetic things, and you may not realize how much of an impact an energetic imbalance has on your day-to-day life. As I said, it can come up as a psychic reading, so I can get pictures, insights, things like that from your past, from your now, potentially for your future as well. A lot of clients that do this get connected to their higher self, their guides. It can be like an activation, so it can bring out things like your ability to heal yourself and others. It can bring out any of your gifts, right? Clairsenses, empath abilities and things like that. It connects you to those things, it opens the pathways, and it shows you the possibilities, it shows you what you are, what you really came here for. And the last thing I want to say that this actually has helped with is clearing space. So clearing space of negative energies, like your house, your workplace, things like that. And it also has helped with clearing attachments from people. So negative entities, limiting beliefs, behavioural patterns. Some people see that as an attachment, like an entity, or it could be things that you put down to like dark thoughts or looping thoughts, negative behavioural patterns and things like that, where it feels like potentially it's not you that's in control. I've had a lot of experience with this therapy dealing with those kind of things. So how a session works is you would come in, relax, I get you into a relaxed state, I get myself into a relaxed, neutral, no mind state, and the language then comes through. So I use a few things like shakers and chimes that helps lead the mind, like a primordial sound. It's a constant sound wave that's there. So that helps you detach from trying to understand the language, because I would imagine there are very, very few people out there that could understand what I'm actually saying, as in decoding each word. What you probably will get is a flavour for what is being said, like on an energetic level, whether it's a clearing sounds, whether it's like nurturing sounds, whether it's any of those things, those emotions, you can feel that absolutely. But what I'm trying to do when I play the extra instruments and stuff is to take your mind away from what is she saying, what is going on here, because once you start to latch onto that and try to make a cognitive process out of it, it takes you out of the theta state, and it means that the healing won't be so deep because your mind is engaged in your left brain. And really what we want is for you to be in no mind state or unified left and right brain, like you are in a meditation, like you are in a sound bath, if you let go. So the session's about 45 minutes to an hour of speech, and then obviously coming around, some silence, some downtime after that to assimilate what's been said, what you've seen and heard, and then afterwards it would be a chat. So between you and me, what I've seen, what you've seen, what we've heard, felt, what came up, and all of that kind of thing. Now, as I said, assimilation is major, so we would always leave space between these sessions. But the other thing is entrainment. So yes, you'll get something out of one session, but generally speaking, I like to journey with these because every time you come is different, and every time you come is slightly deeper. So it really does get to deep, deep work where you are going to shed layers of baggage or things that you've been carrying. You're going to understand maybe negative patterns for yourself. You're going to process the things that you've been carrying that potentially have been holding you back. Those are like the first layers of what this therapy does. Once you have lightened your system, then you start stepping into the realms of, these are my abilities, this is what I'm here for, this is my life purpose, this is my connection to spirit, this is what I really should be doing, right? It brings the light into you, it lightens your system, it lightens your load, it lifts your density, it helps you to live a more joyful, happy life with purpose. And it really does help you step forward on many, many levels. And so just as a little taster before I go, I'm just gonna bring in some language so you can get a flavour for it. So just for the collective to bring through what I need to bring through now. Kunari asaka tina maus taraka sanata kua nayesa tua raka kena maesa tua nasuak taus rinasasha. If any of that resonated with you, if you would like to find out more, please drop me a PM or a comment below, and I'll be back soon with some more about quantum voice and about all the other sound things that I do with frequency. I hope you all have a lovely weekend. Thanks for listening.